How's it going, everybody? Dynamite here, and today we're going to be learning how to run EL wire, electroluminescent wiring, into a SDL body armor vest. A couple of you asked me about my clothes as I'm out at the club, a couple of you here on YouTube, and they wanted to know how I got the glow sticks in there. Well, it's not glow sticks, it's EL wire. So today I figured I'm going to do a little tutorial on my latest piece. Tools you're going to need: helping hand, one of the most important tools I've ever bought. When it comes down to doing the soldering for the wiring, that is your best friend. Wire cutters, razor blade, soldering iron, hot glue gun, silicone glue. I'm sure everybody knows what that is, you know, I had to tape it off a little. Scissors, an awl, and a flathead screwdriver, and any kind of wiring. You're going to use this to jump your pieces of wire together, because I found it's easier for the clothing on the inside, instead of running the EL in a single strand, to actually solder it and jump it and daisy chain it back. But later on in the video we'll get back to that. Alright, I'm going to get set up and here we go. Alright everybody, let's get this started. Alright, first thing you're going to need is EL wire. Okay, you can get this anywhere on the internet. Just type in your Google box EL. Me personally, I like to get mine from eBay. Yeah, it comes from Hong Kong. It may take 2 to 3 weeks, but this roll I got right here, I bought off of eBay with the battery box for $3.50. Okay, it's not that expensive. First thing you're going to want to do is, when the EL comes to you, it comes with this little rubber thing in here that seals off the tip of it, because those wires are live at the tip. First thing you're going to want to do is clip that off. Just make sure you got really sharp scissors to clip that off, and it won't damage the wire. We'll seal that up later. But the reason why you want to do that is when you're running it through your clothes, you want to have the smallest hole. You only want the hole only about as big as this wire is, to save, you know, time, space, and so it doesn't look all funky. Alright, I'm going to grab the vest and we'll be right back with you. Okay, now that we're back, okay, I've chosen the EL vest of my choice, which is going to be this SDL body armor. The reason why you choose this, because anything you run on here, you want it to be as flat as possible. This has these nice little diamond plates with this little rubber gasket around here, so rigging the wire, gluing it down isn't going to be too hard. First thing you're going to want to do is come straight down to the center, take your awl, punch it through. When you punch it through, make sure you go all the way to the back, kind of work it really good. Flip it over from the other side. Try to get right back in that hole and come straight up. After you get that hole ran, you want to take your scissors and you want to cut just a small incision right where that hole is going to be. So when you run the wire through the back end, it's not so hard to bring it back, and the wire is going to try to hang up on the cloth and everything. So now it's time to rig some wire. Grab your EL. Try to get it through there as easy as you possibly can. Okay, you know it's going to go that way. Find where it's going to line up. Come back through the back side. This is the most important part, because this is where your battery jump's going to be. So when you strand it all the way through, come up, make sure your female end butts all the way up against it. Sometimes leave a little bit, because sometimes these little wires like to come undone. You're going to be doing some repairing. Okay, now that you got that ran, get your trusty hot glue gun. First things first, it is wire, so you're going to want to come down on these corners, kind of give it a little bend, so when you come around the corners, it also wraps around that box. Take your hot glue, run you a small light bead well, it helps if I plug the hot glue gun. Okay, now that I got my hot glue gun nice and warm, what you're going to want to do is you want to take this right here on the inside line, and just run a small bead of hot glue. Not too much, because it's not really what's going to be holding it down at the end. This is just to keep it in place while you're making it. Run you a small bead, bring your wire in. Remember how I told you to crease those edges? That's going to help it wrap and keep its form. So you're going to go up, hold that down, get it in place, run you another small bead, crease your edge, come around, crease the edge, hold it in place, and don't worry about your hot glue coming out on the bottom. You can always take a razor blade and just kind of clean that up after you're done. Make sure you got it nice and uniform. If you mess up, it's only hot glue, so you can peel it right back up, take the tip of the gun, run it down the bead, and just, you know, melt it again. So I mean, it's pretty versatile. Hot glue's your best friend in creations like this. And I'm gonna need a little bit more. Okay, on the bottom down here, you don't want to run that hot glue until you get the wire back in there, because once you get the wire back in, you can move it back and forth and kind of just shake it and shimmy it until you get it in there. This is the hard part. You're going to want to take your awl again. That's flathead. You want to take your awl again, run it right next to the wire. Peel the wire over so you're not going to pierce the wire. But you're going to want to go right beside it. Kind of work it back, get a nice little hole in there for it to fit in. Remember, I told you to slit the bottom of the fabric. What that's going to do is that's going to give you a little bit of leeway for poking this through. A lot of times you're not going to get it in the first try. So try to poke it on in there. See how it's hanging up right there on the fabric? That's why you cut that hole. Feed it through. Pull it all the way down. See, it's kind of twisting around. That's why you don't want to glue that piece down until you can get this down in here, until you see that it's going to go nicely. Now it's time to glue that piece down. Bring it in. Hold. This next part's just a personal preference, but I like to take just a little bit of hot glue and tag the corner of this hole. What that does is it kind of settles the wire in there, so whenever you're pulling on it, tugging on it on the next step, it doesn't jar free and keeps all this in place. Next step, come over to the back, grab your scissors and cut it. Alright, I'm going to get it flipped over and then we'll be on to... Okay, now I have the back side of the vest. This next part is very important. You're going to want to take your wire snips, go down to the 18 gauge, and you're going to want to snip the jacketing at the 18 gauge mark. Be very, very careful that you only snip the jacket and not what's inside the jacket. Okay, now that we've snipped the jacket, inside there's going to be another clear jacketing. You're going to want to go down to your 20 to 22 gauge, and you want to go down there and be very careful when you're doing this. Snip it up really fast. What's going to happen is it's going to release that jacket, and inside there's going to be two small wires. That wire is the wire that runs down the side of the phosphorescence. This wire right here, which is your main wire, you're going to want to take some scissors or a razor blade and scrape off all the white coating. That's phosphorescence. Because without that white coating off, whenever you go to run those jump wires, it's not going to glow, it's not going to jump the electricity current to the next wire. And after every step, you're going to want to take your battery box, plug it in, and just make sure the wire and everything's still working. Because if this doesn't work on the next leg, the rest of it is like hooking up Christmas lights. Alright, I'm going to get the soldering iron set up and then we'll be right back. Okay, now that we're back, as you can see, I got my helping hand set up in my soldering iron. We're all ready to wire this thing in. What you're going to want to do is you're going to get any kind of smaller wire for jump wire. What I'm using right now is an old cell phone charger that my cat had eaten the wires on, so I just took it apart and I'm using the wiring. And the helping hands. The reason why I use the helping hands is because it can hold both wires together. When you're soldering something this small, it is a pain in the ass to try to do it by hand, and I highly don't recommend it. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to take my sod and I'm going to get nice bead worked up here on the tip. Come in from the back side, drop some on there, push it in. Oh, it doesn't want to communicate. See, this right here isn't the easiest thing in the world. Once you get that set, bam, you're done. Now, time to move to the next one. Okay, now that I got the next piece in line, just to let you know, show you how I'm doing this. There's a little small fine line hair of 2 wires right there. I don't know if any of y'all at home can see them. But I'm going to take this wire and just try to position it on top with the helping hands. This by far is the hardest part of all of it. I don't stress enough the helping hands. Without it, I don't think I could do this. Let that set, take it apart, test it, make sure it's there. Like I said, after every time you put some heat to this wire, you're going to want to hook your battery box up. It's this right here. Press it, turn it on. See, no power. That means something in here is corrupted, and we get to do it again. It's a long trial and error tests. Okay, we're good. If you look down, see the wire's still going. Everything's working out nice. Off to the next part. Okay, now that you got your wire sawed set up, the next part is you want to take some electrical tape, and around the thick side, you want to take it and you want to wrap it. Because if those 2 wires touch, then the EL will not light up, and you've basically just wasted all your time, and you're backing up, digging out a whole bunch of hot glue and everything just to get it to work again. So you're going to want to take that, put a little bit of tape on one side. The next part is you want to make a little pad. So you're going to take a little electrical tape, put some there, put some here, down underneath. You just want to take this whole area and cover it with tape. Yeah, you might think I'm kind of crazy right now, but it's very, very important. I've had trial and error on about 5 or 6 different garments, and pretty much to keep your wire from separating and give you longer life of whatever you're making, this really pays off in the end. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take this down, put that there. Be very careful with those wires. To keep those wires from separating, you're going to take your hot glue gun again, just put a little on that tape. What I like to do in this process is actually hook my battery box up, because hot glue isn't conductive. Do it all under hot glue. So you take that and you push it down into the hot glue. The hot glue is actually going to seal those wires together and keep anything from moving. So now that you got that, hold that in place. You're going to want to take this, glue this side down too. No. Like I said, in this style of EL rigging, this glue gun is pretty much your best friend. After you got that set, take a couple pieces of tape, put it right on top of the glue. It's that's going to let you do is you're going to be able to push it down, hold it, and then you've just made a sealed case of all your wires. And once that dries, you can dance, you can rave, you can hop around, and you don't have to worry about those small wires separating. Because the way that they send you this little heat shrink wrap, yeah, I've had to rip about 4 or 5 of those apart just to keep it from the shrink wrap coming and the wires disconnecting. So I'm gonna get the next part set up, and I'll show you how to jump it all in. Okay, now that the glue's dried, we're gonna start on the next square. Just like the last one, you're gonna come in through the foam into the back, but on this one, you're gonna want to leave a little bit of length. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and save some time and go ahead and rig this one up at a video because I showed you how to hot glue and everything, and after I'm done, I'm gonna show you how to jump the wires in. Oh, and if any of y'all are questioning why doesn't he just run from here up and then through and then back around in a loop, the reason why I don't do that is, one, from here to there, that much wire. One, it conserves wire, and two, when this wire is in the back and it's loose, if you hang it up on something and bend this in half and crease it or cut it or something, there's no repairing it. You're done. At this point, if I run it this way, you have these little jump wires that if anything happens, I can go right into these little nodes and replace the squares out as it goes. Instead of, if something breaks, you're pretty much set to one trashed piece of wire and you're starting all over again. So yes, this is a little bit more time consuming, but the quality is 10 times better. Okay, now that you've gotten all that ran, you come out the back side, of course. You got your 2 wires sitting up. After you get these 2 stripped, you always want to try to take and do a connection test, just to make sure. See, lights up. That's letting you know that these 2 jumper wires, there's nothing corrupted. You've got from point A to point B. Alright, I'm going to get the soldering iron set up, and we'll get a little further. Okay, now the soldering iron's hot and ready to go. Same thing we did before. Come up, get you a nice bead of sod. I don't know if y'all can see that. Try to do this. I'm sorry if some of this gets in the way. It's precision soldering. So you're going to want to run the bead all the way over. Join them together. Release. Oh. Let it sit. Hope it takes. Always do the big wire first, because in case you're moving around, that little wire is very fragile, so you always want to do that last. There's the little itty bitty wires right there. Keep that clamped. Bring your wire up from the underside. Clamp. Get your butt on there. Like I said, this is the most tedious spot. I mean, some of y'all, yeah, you could just run loop, jump up, loop, jump up, loop, jump up. But I like to do it this way because I like to save wire, because there's multiple projects. Any wire you have left over can be a new project. And two, like I said, I've broken wires at the club, and this really helps conserve repairs down the road, because I mean, the more you wear it, the more it's going to get worn out. Little thing to help, always grab your flathead screwdriver, kind of use it to manipulate where those little wires are going to be, because that's pretty much the hardest of all of this, is getting those 2 little wires soldered together. Plus doing this in case you do break it off at the connector, you know how to put it back together. All this was trial and error. I've broken many of those connectors off, so that's what basically got me into soldering them. Get your bead, come up from the underside, try not to touch that other one. If you do, it's a pain in the ass. Get to start all over again. Nope. That didn't work. come in from the back side. Like I said, after every time you solder something, you're going to want to hook your battery box up, do a connection test, bam, your next leg's ran. Repeat the step that I told you about, taping off one side, gluing it down, continue all the way up. That's pretty much it. That's how you wire the vest. Okay, I'm going to finish wiring this, and once I get it all wired up, I'm going to show y'all how to seal it. Okay. Finished doing all the rigging, all the wiring, all the soldering, got it all taped down. Okay, here's the final piece on the back side. See the little node right there? Out. That's a live wire running at 120 volts, just like your wall socket. So to cap that off, yep, hot glue. So you're going to glue the tip of it, then just make a pad and glue it down. As long as you got a nice little pad, you're good. Wait for that to dry. Put another tab of hot glue on top of it. Put some tape over top of it. You're sealed up. Alright, ready to go to the sealing. I'm going to flip this over and be right back. Okay, now that you got all your wires ran, you're pretty much almost there. All we got to do is seal it up, clean it up. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see this, but you got little pieces of hot glue that have overflowed. All that fun stuff, little stringy things. But before you seal it up, always do what I said. Hook your batteries up. Right now I've got it hooked up to a splitter, which takes two, puts it in one, puts it on the battery pack, give it a shot, and turn the lights out for you. Oh yeah. That's what your finished product's gonna look like. So now, let's get to sealing. First things you're going to do is you're going to take your handy dandy knife, go over every little edge that you can, peel up all the hot glue that's excessive, and go around it. Okay, once you're done doing that, we'll be right. Okay, now that you've got it all cleaned up, here comes the last step. Remember, the hot glue is not really what's going to be holding it down to whatever you're going to be putting it on. Remember when I said you got the goop and then your little dropper? What you're going to want to do is, because this stuff right here can get kind of messy, what I like to do is I like to take one of these and then just fill up the syringe. Because you really don't want to get a whole bunch of this stuff all over the place. Once you get this down, there ain't no getting it back. Alright, now that you got your syringe filled, you can get you a little piece of cardboard or something, just in case, you know, you go outside the rim or something, you're not getting it all over your casing. And just like a caulk gun, you want to caulk that down. This stuff's crystal clear, so don't really worry about it. But like I said, this is what you're going to use to seal it down. Get a little bit on there. Take your card, kind of fold it up, manipulate it, and then run it all the way around. Once that dries, it's going to be down. There's no getting it back up. And the good thing about this stuff is, one, it's cheap, two, it's crystal clear, it's flexible. I use it in all my EL builds. Just get a good bit on there, bring it up. Kind of work it around. Clean up for this, just, you know, rubbing alcohol takes it off your fingers. But I mean, it's a really, really good product. I don't recommend doing more than one square at a time, because as you see, this stuff can get messy. See, it's starting to lift up the eel right there, but that's okay, because once this dries, it's not going anywhere. And it's nice, bright, shiny, so it kind of helps your wire glow a little bit better also. Just kind of work it all the way around. Any excess that kind of gets on the top, just like with the hot glue, just take it and kind of just, you know, cut it off, work it around, do what you got to do. I mean, once that's down, you're done. Alright, do that all 4 squares. Appreciate you watching the video. If you want to see me do some more EL clothing or masks, boots, I'll show a couple of those after I'm done here. Just, you know, put a little comment down there in the comment spot. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down. Subscribe, please subscribe. Alright, I've been Dynamite. This is EL wire and a SLD body armor vest. Appreciate you watching. If you want more, just leave a comment below. Okay, I told you I'd show you a couple of the other things that I've made in my EL wiring endeavors. This is a 3M chemical mask with a full face guard. I acquired it when I was working pools. They used to use it to burn the chemicals and the acids after you built a new pool. The gaskets were blown, so he said he was going to throw it out, and I was like, no, I've got a use for that. Let's turn the lights off, let you see how it looks. Now, if you see any of this stuff and you don't have the time to make it or the patience, just post me, tell me what you want. Maybe we can work out a price, and I can see what we can do.